Well, hey, what's up? It's John from Stuff That's Good. Now, every once in a while, we're going to be reviewing an album on this channel, and one of my favorite bands out there today is Paramore, and they just dropped an album today called This Is Why, and I was able to pick up the vinyl and listen to it today, and I've got some thoughts. I got my in-ears in here. I'm going to be listening to a couple of tracks and explaining them as I listen to them. I obviously can't play this whole album on here, or they will for sure shut me down. But let me just tell you right now, this single came out like months ago. I didn't know that there was a new album coming out until I heard the single actually on Jimmy Fallon. I saw a clip pop up on Instagram and I just had to hear the rest of the song. And so I went in, I watched the song, and here's what I love about Paramore. Like, no matter how many years in we are, and no matter how many band member changes or whatever have happened, they kind of maintain their like artistic integrity, where it's guitars, bass, keys, drums, vocals, and not a lot of frills, just great songwriting, a lot of angst, a lot of energy, and really, really cool arrangements. So just before I dive into each song, things I love about this album: the drums, the tone on the drums, the character of the drums, the actual arrangement of the drum parts, the snare, like everything just seems to be like EQ'd, mixed perfectly, tuned perfectly. And every like drum fill and part really complements the arrangement of each song. It doesn't go overboard, and it also doesn't just lay back in the pocket and just kind of do a four on the floor. So that's one of the things I really love about this album. Another thing I really love about this album is I am a fan of like natural, clean, and slightly gainy electric guitar, and there's tons of that in here, mixed in with some like tape delay and effects, and both those things together just make for an amazing combination. Another one of my favorite records is Tom Mission, Yusuf Day's What Kind of Music, and that kind of like explores and expands on that in a really psychedelic way. And then you have Haley's vocals on top of that and the lyrics. And this album is like what the world feels like in a post-COVID era. That's kind of, it feels like someone just kind of like struggling through some of the fear, some of the anxiety, some of the uncertainty. Talks a lot about the news and like current events and politics and some of that stuff that I don't think that Paramore has really explored to the extent that they are here in this album. And a lot of times I feel like, am I listening to you talk about the actual news? Am I listening to something that's going on in your mind or in your heart? Like, what's the story here? Maybe it's all of it. But let's go real quick, track by track. We'll keep this brief, and I'll give you a breakdown of how I hear this and my favorite moments from this album. So we start out with This Is Why, and dude, this song is so cool. The intro kind of like open and nice ride. When I watched this on Jimmy Fallon, I was just like, what's going on? There's like a band playing on Jimmy Fallon. There's not like a whole bunch of tracks. In music, we use these in-ears. This is what I have in right now to listen to the music, but we use these live so that we can play back click and guide and track while we're playing on stage. And there's like a whole bunch of like synth and all this wall of sound. And Paramore does not do that. They keep it really clean, simple, but unique. This whole song, lyrically, arrangement-wise, sweet. I love how she just says, if you have an opinion, maybe you should shove it. Like, that's the first line of this album. And that really kind of is like the vibe of Paramore in this record. But man, this chorus, This Is Why, it just like clicks right into place. Those drums, man, it's so tight. And this is what I'm saying, like if you listen to the nuance of these drums, I mean, you could easily just four on the floor. This is why, bah, I don't leave the house. But that is not what's happening here at all with none of these musicians. And I love the complexity, yet the simplicity at the same time, which is a super oxymoron, and I kind of feel dumb for saying that, but that's kind of what it sounds like to me. And the whole like beginning of the theme, I don't know if it's paranoia, anxiety, if it's just angst, if it's fear, if it's whatever, desiring for freedom. It kind of kicks right off with this whole song. This is why I don't leave the house. You say the coast is clear, but you won't catch me out. Oh, why? This is why. Like, because things are crazy out there. And I think we can all agree to some extent. If you haven't seen this song played on Jimmy Fallon, you should totally check it out because it is a treat. All right, so the next track, The News. This song is kind of crazy. It starts right out with war. And I'm like, okay, are we just going like heavy into politics on this whole album? Is that what this is? Because political albums by bands sometimes can be really, really polarizing. And maybe you agree with their views, maybe you don't. And if you don't, then you're like, man, I love these songs, but I just don't agree with any of this stuff. I think she's talking about like the breakdown of society, maybe to an extent, or like the breakdown of our culture throughout all of the angst and tension that has happened in the past couple of years. At the same time, she feels divided and she feels maybe a little bit, you know, broken by all of it. And I think I I identify with that. But again, like guitars with like a bit of gain, there's these little moments where there's a hit with some vibrato and everything kind of fades a little bit, but then closes right back up nice and tight. Man, that's what I love about Paramore. Like this song is so great. Probably one of the more upbeat, more intense songs that they've done in a while, which I love it. I just love that line, shut your eyes, but it won't go away. And that just shows me that it's not completely the things you're experiencing externally. It's some of the things that they or she is experiencing internally. And that's definitely like this album. And we got running out of time. Like the opposite of this song to me is Big Man, Little Dignity. And we're going to get to that in a second. But this is her looking like inwardly and saying like, man, sometimes maybe I'm just a sham. I think this song is speaking to like some of the like distance that we have in our relationships, or like the excuses we make to not show up for people. Like, and again, with this song, we get those kind of guitar moments with these vibrato things and these big like kind of psychedelic like washes. But then it always comes right back to that hooky chorus. Man, the guitar tones in this thing are sweet, juicy, so good. I love the little callbacks at the end. She's always running out of time. It's so like 50s, 60s. I don't know, it's weird. I've never thought about like singing a song and then referring to myself from a third person. Cool song. I'm just trying to figure out what C'est Comme Ça means. I have no idea what language this is, and someone could probably be like, you idiot. It's clearly whatever, it's French, okay? Google Translate. And it means it's like that. Sit still long enough to listen to yourself, or maybe just long enough for you to atrophy to hell. Like, you know, whichever one you want. It's like that. This is an interesting one for me. I'm not exactly sure what she's trying to say. On doctor's orders, I'm off caffeine, said it was gonna help to level out my hormones. Lucky for me, I run on spite and sweet revenge. Dang, girl. This song is just like straightforward, pumping, madness, 4 on the floor. If you were at the show, it kind of feels a little bit like filler, but like in a good way. Great song. I don't have much else to say about it. Now, Big Man, Little Dignity. 2 tracks ago, she was talking about her own depravity and some of the way that she like cop-outs in life and makes excuses to do things. And then 2 tracks later, she's looking at somebody else and saying, but I'm not the only one. Look at you, like Big Man, Little Dignity. If you've ever been in a relationship and been on the other side of this message, it hurts about as much as this song feels, I would say. And it even says like, well, look at you, which is very similar vibes to Ain't It Fun. So man, the drum tone, like there's a lot of space in these verses. Just listen to that snare. It's like perfect. And all the guitar work in here, like, I mean, these guys are basically playing straight chords, but the tone is perfect. The approach is perfect. So even though it's simple in nature, it's complex. And that's, again, kind of like the theme in my mind with this album. All right, you first. Electric guitar in the chorus. That's what I'm talking about that like tape saturation and like that kind of warbly, a little bit off kilter. Maybe it's really light like record. Bass is kind of driving the whole thing through. Drums are pretty straightforward on this one too, but nuanced as well. And that guitar is bringing that dynamic balance between the big, huge guitar tones, which are still not like distorted. They're driven, which is a little bit different. And then in the chorus, an interesting juxtaposition. Usually you're holding back in the verse and then you bring it up in the chorus. And this one's complete opposite. They're going for it in the verses and driving, and then it kind of sits back a little bit and just kind of jazzes through that chorus. Now, one of the lyrics on here is pretty intense. Everyone is a bad guy and there's no way to know who's the worst. Because karma's gonna come for all of us. And I just hope she comes for you first. I think there's a little bit of this like anxiety, this angst, this frustration in all of us. And so when we listen to stuff like this, like for me, sometimes I'm like, dang, I do feel that way. And I didn't even know I felt that way. What am I feeling that way about? And somehow it's gonna like reflect everything that's twisted up inside of me somehow. I probably need therapy. I am in therapy. Everyone should be in therapy. It's vitamins, not medicine. Let's keep going. All right, figure 8. This one is really cool. Again, kind of like the figure 8 is a perfect example of like this cyclical like cycle that Haley finds herself in all these songs. This relationship that did not work out, and she's right back where she was again. The figure 8 kind of like swirling around this continuous cycle. This one has a little bit more complex of a rhythm, and a drum beat. And most drums in modern music are programmed. Like maybe you have somebody play it live and then you program it from there. I'm sure that they are amping up the tones of things by doing triggers and stuff. However, this is fully just like, it's too nuanced to be completely programmed. And that's what I love about it, because it has a natural feel to it. It's not just a programmed drum sound. I also think it's interesting how she says endless on this. She says endless, not endless, endless figure eight. It's endless. I may have to start using that in my regular nomenclature. Oh, this pain? Oh, it's endless. And then track 8 kind of brings a little bit of calm to this album. It's bittersweet though, because these lyrics are like heartbreaking. It has this really like chimey kind of warm belly guitar tone in it. Very chill, laid back chorus pocket while saying, "Oh my love, I lied to you." Now I might be dumb, but I don't exactly know what she's talking about here. Did she lie that she loved this person? Did she lie that she didn't love them? Lying in a relationship is never good. This is a beautiful song, but don't lie in relationships. All right, track 9, Crave. This is probably the one song that I feel like is a little bit hopeful, a little bit optimistic, like looking on the bright side, maybe a little bit, like hoping for better days, like something positive. The tones and the chord structures that they use evoke a sense of like tranquility or happiness, even like maybe bliss. With that 5th, I think it is, it kind of gives you that sense of like, wow, I see a beautiful cloud and the sun is just peeking through. Like, gives you that feeling, the way that it's arranged, the way that it's played. The drums are very 60s classic kind of. And she's talking all about craving to do it again, like have this moment again with someone. Just for a moment, it all felt simple and I'm already missing it, so I'm just craving to do it again. And that's like, okay, so this is something you want. It seems like so far, this album has been a lot about things that she doesn't want, things that she doesn't want to experience. She doesn't want to say. She's lying in other songs. It's like that sarcastically. Oh, so it's like that. Okay, that's not okay. This is why I don't leave the house. I turn on and I turn off the news and I still hear it even when I close my eyes. Big man, little dignity. Like, man, you're a messed up person and you've caused a lot of pain for me. I've turned into things I didn't even want to be for you, figure 8. And then you have Crave, where it's like, there have been moments where I've wanted to enjoy life and I've wanted to enjoy a relationship. But even with this, there's a little bit of bitterness because it's gonna go away at some point and I'm gonna crave this again. So I'm trying to remember it. I'm trying to make sure I lock it in. Man, backing vocals are great on this. Drums, guitar, bass, man. I feel like this album proves that you can do a lot with those instruments and you can make some amazing modern music that doesn't fall into the stereotype. And then we close it out with an album closer, Thick Skull. Kind of down tempo, really reflective, kind of the final statements of the album. You know, when people sing things like "Only I Know Where All the Bodies Are Buried," I just really hope we don't actually find bodies one day. That would be so troubling. Like, hold on, we have some hard evidence. She's saying about this. She told us all straight up and we just didn't listen. But this song builds up pretty well. This drums, again, with all these little nuanced hits, like lots of cymbal work in this, but it's all really washy. None of it takes away some cool textures and background noise. I love it when guitarists, musicians, producers create like a vibe and an ambience, like an atmosphere to a song. And I feel like they do a good job about 3/4 of the way through this song, and the way that they build it, man, it's so good. That is this album, Paramore, This Is Why. Love this album. And even the cover, if you do yourself the favor of buying the vinyl, you can get a good look at like album artwork, and that's one of the things I love about vinyl. But the fact that they're in this like space and there's all this condensation and energy in there and they're just pushing to kind of get out, that's what this album sounds like. Great instrumentation, great arrangements, great production, super, super good. Stuff that's good, this one's good. Check it out. Hey, if you like this video, then let's hang out. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, do all those things. I'm gonna be doing album reviews, I'm gonna be doing music gear reviews, I'm gonna be doing music tech reviews, and then on my YouTube shorts, I don't know, I'm gonna be trying to branch out a little bit, do reviews of a lot of different things. I just wanna experience life together with you and me. Let's do it, so let's hang. See you guys next time.